So this is the pineapple, as some of the more clever of you may have noticed. And I'm going to spend the next 6 minutes showing you why it's the most fascinating fruit in the world. I don't work for the Pineapple Association of Canada or the Dole Food Company. I'm just a guy that has noticed that both the history and biology of the pineapple is utterly amazing. We call them pineapples because our British ancestors took one look at them and thought they looked like pine cones. Almost all of the rest of the world calls them some version of the word ananas, meaning from the Central American tupi word meaning excellent fruit. But the Brits were never one to take on the words of the native peoples that they encountered. One of the most fascinating things about the early explorers found about the fruit was the odd effect that it had on your mouth. Eat too much and your mouth would run raw and bleed. Like the recent interest in BDSM, eating it sort of hurts so good. This is because pineapple has a special enzyme called bromelain that breaks down proteins. This essentially means that it's flesh-eating. So you know that tingly feeling in your mouth that you get it? Yeah, that's bromelain digesting the skin cells of your mouth. Every pineapple you've ever eaten is really eating you, which is why they serve it at Brazilian steakhouses. Now, one of the most insane side effects of bromelain was found at pineapple canning factories in the early part of the 19th century. Workers exposed to this enzyme began to lose their fingerprints. So, if you're looking to commit the perfect crime, stick your hand in a pineapple for a couple of months. Now, this fact was used as the central plot point in an episode of Hawaii Five-0. So if there are any authors or story writers in the audience looking for a zany plot twist, please add it to your screenplay and then just credit me at the end. Now, I have a question for all the vegans in the audience. Are you allowed to eat plants that have eaten other creatures? Can you eat things like Venus flytraps or that kind of thing? If the answer is no, you may want to reconsider pineapples. In the wild, insects cannot eat the tough pineapple skin. So they go for the leaves. When they bite, they unwittingly release the bromelain, which starts to digest them. So in the wild, the tops of pineapples are sort of insect graveyards, where a slurry of half-digested bugs are slowly consumed for nutrients. Now, let's talk about the one thing that's on everyone's mind. Does pineapple make semen taste better? Dr. Madeline Castellanos, a sex therapist from New York, has this to say: no amount of pineapple in the world is going to make your semen taste like a pina colada. Your bodily fluids, like sweat and saliva, can all be influenced by your diet and lifestyle habits. Eat sweeter foods, and staying well hydrated can lead to a less aromatic experience. That's a very polite way of talking about a very impolite subject. So I'm going to end this part on a cautionary note. There has been one person in the historical literature who has been killed by a pineapple. In 1800, an English teenager named Rose Almer died as a result of a severe bowel complaint brought on from eating too much pineapple. Her family made her tomb vaguely in the shape of a pineapple, which is not only hilarious, but also incredibly bad taste. Leaving biology, let's talk about Victoria-era England. I'm not exaggerating when I said that pineapple was one of the most revered and respected symbols in the 1700s. If you wanted to impress a king, you gave him a pineapple. Each costing upwards of $6,000, or 6,000 pounds, I should say. For hundreds of years, they were considered the most fashionable objects to have. English aristocrats were known to bring pineapples to fancy parties as a sign of their wealth. If they didn't have one, they would go so far as to rent them from other things, just to keep up appearances. Eventually, they became such a symbol of wealth that the pineapple motif was used to decorate buildings. John Murray, the 4th Earl of Dunmore, built this 75-foot-high stone one in his estate in 1761. Let's add it to Edmonton. Maybe? Yeah. So why were they so expensive? Well, it's because you had to grow them in England. When explorers brought them back from the New World, they would be stored in formaldehyde. So if you wanted a fresh one, you'd have to grow it in cold, damp England. It was extremely difficult to do in the 1700s, when it was common for the Thames to freeze over and London to be covered in snow. So how did they do it? Well, they would bury their pineapple plants in these sort of massive piles of manure, horse urine, and straw. This was not a cheap growing method, and many plants died in the process. That pineapple that you see right there was grown in 2012 using Victorian methods, and it cost $16,000. Victorian aristocrats used to cherish their shit-covered pineapples and gave over entire estates to create massive stinky gardens of this exotic fruit. Whatever meager crop was gained, they would bring to parties or rent to other Victorians. Now, the trickiest thing about this process was that the pineapple shit pits would sometimes get hot and burst into flames. Now, to stop this, Victorians would employ local boys to sleep around the pineapples as a sort of human alarm system. So while we fast forward to today, while things like fast cars and jewelry have replaced pineapples as a status symbol, it's making a reemergence as a pattern du jour among fashion brands. A quick walk in Simon's at West Ed will show many pineapple patterns among the inconsistently priced clothing. So I'll leave you now to go about your lives, but thanks to this talk, you'll be able to regale your friends at dinner parties with fun pineapple facts. And you'll start noticing pineapples everywhere, on TV, on clothes, maybe even in the supermarket. And maybe, just maybe, you'll remember why pineapples are the most interesting fruit in the world.